Welcome to this Degenerate Friday edition of Bury Your Bookie. I'm Jeff DeForest. The smiling face, a very familiar one for fans of the show. In for the professor who's having some work done on his roof, and he's got dogs that are going crazy in reaction to all the noise around the house. So he didn't feel up to the idea that he'd be able to transmit in any kind of fashion that you would be able to understand. I mean, his house was starting to look like a scene outside the O.J. Simpson murder scene where you got barking Akitas and all kinds of crazy stuff, and here comes like a dark figure running, wearing all black and a black hat. Somehow runs into the house and then claims he was hitting golf balls. It's unbelievable what's going on there with this kid. So we have Mike Jones in for the professor today. I do have the professor's plays, so we'll reveal those as we get towards the end of the program. The professor very good on college football, although. I mean, as we were saying, you could have gotten 55 in a hook and still would have lost with Washington State last week, which was one of his plays on the show. Would you rather lose by a stinking point? Would you rather get beaten by a stinking point, Mike Jones, or just?
Well, you basically know that you've turned it off midway through the second quarter, so you're just moving on to another part of your handicapping. But I don't know if I could be a professor, but maybe the Sunday school teacher today, as we'll try to see what we got for Sunday. As I'm pretty packed in on Sunday, but yeah. We'll do a little college too. We'll get it all done.
All right, well, we'll get into it. All right, so we had last night's game. I was talking about this extensively on another program earlier this morning on Bleacher Brothers, and you can catch that. Just log on to the website there because we had a lot of fun with this. And here is my problem, Mike Jones.
Mm-hmm.
There seemed to be, I don't know if you remember this, I was mentioning this on the show. It was one of my favorite things because it was one of the movies they played, one of about 5 black and white films they had when I used to watch Rain Out Theater. When a ball game was like a Yankee game or a Met game was in a rain delay, they had Rain Out Theater, and it was the Carol Chessman story. I don't know if you're familiar with this, where they threw the guy in a gas chamber like 8 times, and they kept having to yank him out like a last-second call from the governor. And people seem to feel like they got that last-second reprieve call with this Miami Dolphins effort of last night, where they ultimately lost by 10 points, continued one of the ugliest stats that you could possibly accumulate as a head coach, where Mike McGenius, is 1-14 in games that he faced a team that had a winning record going into that ballgame.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah.
Is that, in your opinion, Mike Jones, a very revealing stat? And the level of satisfaction these people are exhibiting and purveying out there, either on media, actual analysts, or fans, is that, well, we played real well last night. You got shellacked by 10 points in one of your better efforts. I don't know. Well, would you find that more alarming or encouraging, what happened with that Dolphin team last night?
I think you can get away with for a little while beating the teams you're supposed to beat. And then when you get to that big challenge and it doesn't work out, it's like, oh, well, but you're okay. After 4 or 5 years, it's not going to work. I think he's got to go out there and beat these teams at this point. And knowing he's under some kind of pressure, I think that's where I look at it. Is I would think that stat will have to change. It'll get them 3 or 4 wins before the end of the season, or he might not have a job.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see Steven Ross being the kind of guy that fires anybody. I've said it many, many times. I would love to have him buy whatever company I was working for, because you could be the biggest fuck up possible and still have a job. So I don't know. He seems pretty loyal. I McGenius, he's morphing into Professor Irwin Corey right in front of our eyes. Called a pretty decent game last night, and yet they're still victimized by an unfortunate penalty. Guys making an effort. I usually don't get too crazy about that. He's not a guy that runs into the kicker as a matter of routine or does things. And then late game pick, and otherwise you're right there. But for the bettors, it's always torture, isn't it, Mike Jones? You texted me towards the end of that game. We were both sort of implying that we like the Dolphins with the points because of just a very basic handicapping principle. Double digits in the NFL, you should probably take them. I don't know if you have a number on that.
I'll get it for you, but I got a good number for you today that I'm going to pop in on my Giants. But it is, and especially division games. I mean, I fell for it last week with Baltimore, and Baltimore had the 13 with Cleveland at one point. I found a 13, I took it and lost, and I was in the game a little bit till the fourth quarter. But last night, I felt pretty good after Tua went down the field and scored and made it 7-0 right away. I said, uh-oh, here we go. This is what you expect. The division game, short week. Here they come.
Defense is suspect, too.
Right, and then I read right prior to the game, prior to make my bet, when my mind, this is why how you can't think of everything for years past, that I guess they were 1-14 against Buffalo and losing by double digits on 10 of those games. So
Tua never beats them.
yeah, yeah. So you think you're in the game, you think it's a rival, but it didn't. It worked out for us, Dolphin bettors last night. I just didn't like it, and the key component there was, you get a little crazy at halftime. So I did take the middle, and I got the middle laying 7 at halftime with Buffalo. So it all worked out. Well, enjoy last night. It was a pretty good night for the betting.
Yeah, no, I mean, you always find a way in the middle of the game, man.
Yeah,
You're definitely advanced now to the modern era of degeneracy because I'm still in the Stone Age, just trying to pick the winning side,
yeah,
which we were on it last night, so that was good. But you still had to sweat it out right to the bitter end.
Mhm.
And then I always like this, but it's happened to me where the only thing that could beat you is a pick six. There wasn't even the incentive for the guy if he picked off a pass there from Tua, some errant throw at the end of a ball game that everybody thinks is meaningless, but in reality, it turns the whole payoff around at the end of the ball game. But you probably would have gone down. I mean, you were a lock at that point, and I was still worried about it. That's what this modern era of gambling is all
yeah,
about. And
yeah.
all these NFL games come down to the most minuscule, infinitesimal of margins. The kicker that got run into when the Bulls went ahead and accomplished the game-winning score, as it turned out, he was about to fumble that ball. Did you
Mhm.
see? I mean, it's slipping through his hands.
Yeah,
If it hits the ground, the Dolphins recover. They probably march it down the field, and
yeah,
it's a completely different result and a shocker. And 6-1 on the money line. But
right.
instead, he somehow drops the ball as he's losing it right onto the spot where he can get a kick away. And then here comes Seiler thinking,
Mhm.
what? That he's a high hurdler or something? They look like Dwight
Yeah,
Stones.
and the rule is to actually, if you touch the plant food or get into the area of the plant food where you can't come down, is the
15.
penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. It's this leg that's on the ground, and so
Yeah.
when he rolled into him, if he had kind of gone to the side and made contact with the kicking leg, it would have been okay for 5 yards. But once you get
Yeah.
into the bases of where it land, it's the 15-yard penalty. And I think it's just, they probably ran defense safe on that. I've seen it done a million times where they keep the defense on the field to prevent against from a fourth down go. And sure enough, they put the guy who's not used to blocking punts, and you can see his explanation on the sidelines. I didn't do this, I didn't do that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
he's the guy that's not normally on that unit that they did, and it was unfortunate because he's such a
I,
great player.
haven't seen much of his name mentioned, even though the Dolphins'
Yeah.
defensive front is supposed to be this big force. Anyway, they fall to 0-3 last night. The bettors out there were rewarded by a Miami Dolphin cover. I think they were 0-2 against the spread going in, but taking
Mhm.
double digits. The most basic, when your first premise is enough to convince you, okay, this is a sign I'm on. I guess that's always
Yeah.
advantageous in gambling. And then it happened to work out, even though every time that you watch a ball game now, it gets dicey. All right, so that begins the NFL week, Mike Jones, and there are some games of great intrigue that are taking place this week. Not the least of which would be the Monday nighter, Ravens and the Lions, because I'm
Right.
not sure what to make of that. What are you looking at on the NFL slate? And I think you're on
Well,
with
let,
me. We talked
let,
about it yesterday that the Saints are so bad, bet against them every time.
let me pound you with some stats.
Okay.
So, one of the things you always like when you're sitting there trying to find, these quirky things that happen in the NFL is I always look at desperate teams. Who are the desperate teams out there that are desperate for a win, turn their season around? And you start with the 0-2 teams. We know
Yeah.
that 10% of the chances were 0-2 teams to make the playoffs. Well, here we got a stat since 2010. 0-2 teams are 56, 31, and 1 against the number at 64% cover. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig into the teams that I think that I like that are 0-2. And number one, I'm going to start right off with the team that probably I had last week, and I still think there's something's going to happen here with the New York Jets. I like where Aaron Glenn's trying to do, what to do there. And here's the kicker: Justin Fields is out with concussion. I
Right.
have liked Tyrod Taylor. Was very upset when my G-men did not keep him last year when we went to Drew Lock instead of Tyrod Taylor over $1 million in salary.
This guy broke with Sammy Baugh, man. He's
Yeah,
been
yeah, but he's always hurt. But Jeff, I think he's an effective player. So maybe we catch a break. We get a veteran quarterback in there, but maybe it helps the Jets. Maybe it gets Garrett Wilson going. Now you take in the other side of the equation. The right tackle, Gedeke is going to be out, and now we found out that their guard has been put on IR. So they're missing two linemen. Tristan Wirfs, who's one of the great athletes they play, might be coming back at left tackle. So Tampa gets that. They come off a Monday night win emotional Monday night win, short work week. Notoriously, we know that the Monday night cover struggles less than 50% cover on Sunday. All pointing to the Jets plus the 6.5. I'm going to buy it to 7. I'm going to throw you a shocker right away and say the Jets are in this game and might steal it.
Wow. I mean, were you up all night coming up with this stuff? That's some
I
serious
got more.
technology you threw at us, and it was great.
Yep.
And then what's great is all of this math led you into a position, and most people would say that you should be Baker acted for taking, and that is having any faith whatsoever. And if ever the word hapless applied to a franchise,
Yeah.
and this was my beloved franchise, I started out my football fandom as a Joe Willie Jet fan. I was
Mhm.
working at Shea selling souvenirs. How could you not fall in love with the team? And
Right.
then Joe Willie comes in there, and boom, all of a sudden we're a factor, and they had some really good players. But
Yeah.
it was easy for that kind of affection and attachment to dissipate over the years. Where I mean, the Jets have just been a veritable football snotball. No, I mean, so
Well,
for you,
I'm going to throw you another stat
strong
out.
on your part,
I'm
strong.
gonna, I'm going to throw you another stat out here that you're going to like. Keep this for
I
all
love
of the
this
listeners.
mathematics you're doing.
So a buddy of mine was telling me last year that teams playing the Lions, because their defense hit you so hard last year, you go against them the next week. And that stat was 13-2 up until week 15. And then I think it lost a couple times in the end, but you made big money on that. Let's go this year. They start off, they play Pittsburgh week 1. Pittsburgh goes out week 2, loses to Seattle. Who did they play last week? Buffalo. You take Miami on a short week, you get a win. So you're 2-0 going against the Jets. So be careful for Tampa the following week if they're playing the Jets, playing Aaron Glenn's type, tough hitting type defense. But I like them in this spot just because of the dog. No one gives them a chance. They're going to be a survivor pick, Tampa, this week. And I just want to see. I like Tyrod Taylor. I think he's efficient. If he stayed healthy, he would be a starting quarterback, I believe, in this league. I think he got pushed out by the great Josh Allen in Buffalo. I liked what I saw of him out of the Giants 2 years ago. I wanted to keep him, but we'll see what happens here, and and
He's a
see what
modern
they
day
do.
Charlie Batch, I think.
Yeah.
I think he's 15 years in the league.
Yep.
There was a time there where you thought that he was a viable starter
Mm-hmm.
at, what was Jalen Hurts or
Mm-hmm.
any of these other guys that kind of have a similar style gonna have on him. But like a lot of guys that rise to the occasion for a period of time, even like your man Tommy DeVito, they really aren't quite there. But maybe you're not in the worst of shape. I guess to your point about the New York Jets, is Fields this world beater? Do we know that yet? So how far behind
Yeah.
is a 15-year veteran Tyrod Taylor? So you might be onto something, Michael. I think you're on.
I'm gonna say I'm on to something. We'll come back to you next week. Hopefully, we got some smiles there looking
Yeah,
at me.
yeah, we'd be all back again like we
I don't
were.
know the foot in my mouth.
Yeah.
Here's one other one for you too.
Okay, so you're all
Nope.
over this 0-2 thing. Did that include your G-men, or is that where you're
It
going?
sure does, and let's get there right now, of course.
So you're all
So,
in a New York state of mind. You got New York
all
there.
right.
Okay.
So here we go. 24 road games for Pat Mahomes as a favorite.
Okay.
Right? He is 21-3 straight up, but only 10-13 against the number. 6 points, big number here for the Giants. I tried to find out ChatGPT right before I went on. What is Pat Mahomes' 6 point favorite on the road? And I don't know that he's a big time cover. You always looked at last year, a couple years ago, laid the money in Tennessee when he got beat. He was a 7.5 point favorite. Maybe the Giants have something here. I think their offensive efficiency was much better than Philadelphia's was against the Dallas defense. I thought we played pretty well last week. Maybe some deep balls will be available. We get Andrew Thomas back, who is a big component of our offensive line. We believe he's going to play. A lot of things point to this. Here's the other kicker, too, I'm going to give you. We struggle against tight ends. So I would be looking at a Travis Kelce big-time prop. If Kansas City wins and covers, the damage will be done by Travis Kelce. So if you like Kansas City, an anytime touchdown for Travis Kelce would be a bet I would look at. The over-under receptions, I would go over, and yards over. I think after dropping that touchdown that led to the loss last week against Kansas City, I think, and he seemed to be focused, listening to him on his podcast, that we have to get it going. I'm putting it on myself. Giants have struggled guarding tight ends. We have major inside linebacker problems. We're searching the waiver wire for an inside backer that we struggle with. So that might be an area of the field where Kelce digs in and has some success. So, I mean, I don't know that I'm betting the Giants, but I'm putting it out there that the odds are leaning toward the Giants in a 6 point cover. As Mahomes' record on the road as a road favorite is only 10-13-1 against a number.
I love this. All of it based on your 0-2 theory and the level of desperation that these teams have in the National Football League. You would assume, just looking at it, I mean, your immediate reaction is Chiefs Giants, who's going to win that
Mhm.
ball game, and you're thinking, of course, the Chiefs are not going to fall to 0-3.
Right.
Andy Reid's lap band would bust out, and the next thing you know, he'd be weighing 500 pounds instead of 3, and he would lose all of those spots in those commercials. But
Yeah.
and the G-men coughing a bit there, like they did against Dallas. I guess you could say that. Although they weren't expected, of course, to be in this thing to begin with, but they did find something. Yeah, I mean, is it impossible?
And I get to the psychological part of this, as I love to talk about. Does
Yes.
Taylor Swift marry a guy who's 0-3? That's all I want to ask you.
There
That
you
question.
go. Another
I
loser.
mean, that kid, she will not
Maybe
do
she's
that.
trying to
So you got to
inspire.
figure this out. We got to get her out.
I think she's trying to inspire herself for another album about another lost love affair there, even though they're engaged. I mean, imagine they went that far. What kind
Yeah.
of spark is that going to
Yeah.
ignite among the Swifties out
Guy
there?
hasn't won a game since he got engaged. Maybe it's the kiss of death. The Sports Illustrated cover.
And all of a sudden, he's Manos de Piedro, man. I mean, who
Yeah.
was that? Roberto Duran on that catch? I don't know.
Very
All right, so the pros, you're using your 0-2 theory
Yep.
and to an extreme, and going with like a Billy Joel New York parlay, New York state of mind parlay, and thinking that that's the way to go. Although not. I mean, I don't think that you really officially kicked in that you're taking the 6 and a hook with the G-men.
No,
Seems
I
like
haven't
it's
taken
short a
it yet.
lot.
I'm gonna wait on it. But here's one for you that I am taking. And again, it fits the 0-2 theory, and I think we can be a little bit more realistic when we
So you
look
have
at.
3 of them here.
Yep. Here's another one. Houston. So Houston comes off that tough Monday night loss. Was I had on the brink, played a tough game at the Rams. Go on the road to play Jacksonville, getting a point. I got 2 last night, getting a point. I saw the line drop. I look at this game like Houston out of desperation. They are the better roster. They have an elite defense. I think they come on and take it to Liam Cohen and the new Jacksonville Jaguar coach. And I think they win outright. Take the 2 is a pretty safe bet. So I'll put Houston out there as one of my best bets.
All right, very good. Mike Jones, man. Very authoritative here
Mm-hmm.
on the National Football League. All right. I ended up, we were talking about the ethical discrepancy that maybe I was about to walk myself into about possibly selling the tickets that were given to me to give to a friend from a very high up connection in the University of Miami. So here we are with game day in town here in South Florida. I don't know if I'll be out there for that, but I'm going to end up going to this ball game, right? Because I couldn't, in all good faith, sell the tickets online for the probably 1,500 a copy. No, I mean the North 50-yard line seats, Florida Gators versus the Hurricanes, Hard Rock Stadium holds about what 60,000. There's 60,000 alumni down here alone that would grab these tickets, and they all have money. So I could have done that, but I'm going to end up going out there, and I'm thinking just I'm a horse handicapper, as people probably picked up on over the years. So we've been doing this. I go by comparative competition a lot. I think that's a significant factor. There were no excuses involved in either the Gators' startling defeat at the hands of the University of South Florida or the subsequent manhandling of the very same South Florida Bulls by the Hurricanes the subsequent week. So I'm thinking the Canes probably should have been a 10-point favorite in this game.
Yeah.
And now that line, and this is, I mean, this is your wheelhouse, Mike Jones. Line movement, my friend. Line movement. It's been a little bit odd, but now back up to 9 and a hook after falling a couple of points below. What do you make of it?
Very interesting. So the game opens up 9.5, 10, and then drops to 7.5 immediately. So they get the Gator money, and now it flipped back prior to Saturday. That tells me that somebody saw that, found something out, and did the move. I don't know if it was movement on both sides of the aisle, like the same guys took the 10 and laid the 7.5 and are trying to middle the game. But I'll say that game day, a lot of momentum. I saw that line, anticipated being a little higher. The low part of the line does get me to think, hey, look, this is the side that someone smart's moving it. Now that it moves back, I think you might be on the right side, as crazy as it sounds, because of the late movement. So I'll pay attention to this. It's just, again, I go to this desperate team, the 0-2 theory. Like this man's job's on the line. They're calling for his head in Florida, Billy Napier, and I think they show up. That's all I'm saying, is that this is a talented team. They had a lot of high expectations going into the year. Are they all blown up because of a loss to LSU and to South Florida? So they threw 5 picks and we're in the game against the number 3 ranked team in the league. They only lost by 10. The defense is going to be competitive in this game. We're going to see what Miami's made of, and I think if you're a cover in this game, Miami's got to seriously be looked at as a national championship contender. This is a really good test. In-state rival. Can't wait. We'll be glued into this one.
All right. I'm going to be there at the game, so looking very much forward to that. On those lines, though, the line movement, you were telling an interesting story before we signed on here, and hoping you can relay it again. Although without any self-incrimination, we're not saying that Mike Jones was personally involved in any of this, but he may have known a guy who knew a guy who heard something. Where now, what were bettors doing? They were dropping lines by.
It was more or less, a lot of times when we're watching line moves and people get scared when they see their game go in a direction. The educated bettor that's lost sometimes when they see a game as lay 6 and they like it at 6, and then they see it go down to 4, 3.5, they get worried. The bettor that's been around for 40 years like myself say, wait a minute, I love laying 6. I laid 6. Now it's down to 3, 3.5, 4. What happened? What does someone know that I don't know? There's a record now that was quoted yesterday on VSiN where over unders now public notoriously will take overs. If you have an over that the more that over 80% of the money is on, and yet the line moves against, it's a 64% win percentage for the under. So these are numbers that are moving the line. So what was happening in these groups of guys that I knew in Vegas was
Yeah.
they were finding out different areas and places where to bet lines that were standard for what lines you're watching, and they would limit college basketball totals at this time. They stopped taking them, so they would put like $500 on a bet, and because they were so sharp, that company would move the line. And I saw it happen one time. I'll give you the example. It was Ball State playing Miami of Ohio. The over under was 114, and they liked over, and they bet under 114, and the line dropped to 112 and a half, 111 and a half, and then put 20,000 on the over, and then they got the line 111 at 112. And they were absolutely manipulating the line off the basis of nothing was secure with totals in college basketball at this time. And they started trying to do it in other sports if they were caught onto it and realizing who they were, and they didn't move the line after they took the bet, which is better for them because they get to sit there and get a true shake of the number. Sometimes you bet at one place and the line would move. One guy triggers that line move and no one else can get on that number. So you're betting into a 3 or 4 point total that moved the other way. So there was a lot of manipulation. This is going back to 2010, 11, but there was a lot of manipulation in the line that you saw back then, and the computers got it. Now the algorithms are pretty secure, so you don't really see much of that. But
That's right.
it was a time when it was really interesting to watch how you manipulated the line. The bettors were doing it and quite successful.
I just have the image of some guy sitting in the rainforest in Costa Rica taking action, and your guys call and they put 500 on Ball State or whatever, and hey, we got one 500, man. And then all of a sudden the line moves a little bit, and the people in Vegas are like stunned. Holy moly, some Sharpies on this one. And the next thing you know, you get
Jeff, they call the terminology to it as a circle game. You don't see much of it today, but if you're on with the Hard Rock or you're playing somewhere and all of a sudden they circle that game, it meant there's some manipulation of the line that they're not sure of, so they want to still leave it on the board today for everybody else because they know they have thousands of bettors that aren't into this knowledge, but they might only take a certain amount and then figure you out. So.
All right, Mike's in for the professor today. The professor, we did mention, we acknowledge our defeats here and our triumphs, however few and far between they might be in your estimation as you're watching. A lot of people watch handicapping shows just to say, yeah, that guy sucks. What an asshole. How many times you find yourself saying that, right? You watch your guys. I'm thinking we're probably subjected to the same abuse there, or at least not particularly a flattering opinion. All right, the professor, though, who did bury all of us on that Washington State game, but you don't have to bet it, right? You listen to a guy, you think he's half a crackpot? I mean, you don't have to go with that pick. Now, in general, and I have tremendous, you've talked to the professor of college football. I mean, the guy, he knows his stuff. He knows his shit. So we're going to give you his picks here. I'll run through him real quick here, Mike. You don't, if you want to comment on him,
Sure.
please do. But all right, he's got the game tonight: Iowa and Rutgers under 45 and a hook. Under 45 and a hook. You agree with that? You're
Yeah,
not-
I do. I think Iowa struggled offensively. Shiano's giving up a little points early. I think the adjustment comes in this particular game. I think both coaches will not take big chances going for it on normal fourth downs, and other coaches will. Might play a little bit more field position. Both guys spent some time in the NFL. I see this as one of these 2017 type games.
I love that, man. I mean, you were ready to fire on this one too.
Yeah.
I didn't feed you these games. I just got them this morning. Come on. Utah's laying 3 and a hook against Texas Tech. He's going to go ahead and lay the 3 and a hook with Utah.
That was one of the games I picked on Bleacher Brothers. I do like Utah in the spot. Early morning game, 10 o'clock Utah time. Just think this is the game right now. If Texas Tech steals this game, I think they can probably win the Big 12. I'm going to look at this and say the Big 12 champion comes out of this game.
Auburn getting 7 and a hook from Oklahoma. Everybody's darling right now is Oklahoma, Venables, and company. Mateer's Heisman Trophy candidate, second choice at 9-1 behind Carson Beck, who we'll see, where those odds go after this Gator game. Auburn getting 7 and a hook. Oklahoma. What do you think?
I like it. I think so. I saw sevens. I do like kind of getting the hook in this game with Auburn.
This is probably.
I think this is a good test. I think they looked so decisive against Michigan. I think a couple weeks later, they caught a break. I didn't think Michigan played that well in that game. Hit spots, a deep run. This is interesting. Now you're getting a little bit of Michigan type praise for Oklahoma, where I think that line should be 4.5, 5, not up to 7.5. I think there's value with Auburn.
All right, so the professor so far under in the Iowa-Rutgers game. Mike agrees. Mike also made Utah laying 3 and a hook, one of his picks over Texas Tech. Michael also with a lean towards Auburn over Oklahoma, along with the professor making that one of his plays. He's got Michigan State getting 18 and a hook from USC, from the Trojans of USC.
Wow. Boy,
he's a big Sparty fan. He seems to like them. He seems to. Yeah. I mean, you have certain teams that you like for whatever reason because you're a fan, and then you always, I imagine you have several of them, teams that you bang constantly until proven otherwise.
This is a team that's very interesting. Okay, so you have Michigan State hasn't struggled, has not covered a game yet this year, and here they are, as a big dog on the road.
Dog. I mean,
I got it at 19 last night. I'm with him. This is kind of dangerous to say I agree with all his picks right now, but maybe he has a right when we get together. I do. I would have put Michigan State out there as one of my picks today if we were picking college football. I'm sorry, but plus 19. Yeah, a lot of points, but USC still in transition. They're missing a couple of defensive backs. This could be Jonathan Smith, very familiar as a Pac-10 guy with what goes on there at USC. I kind of like. I do like Michigan State getting 19. I think it's just a little too many for USC.
All right. And USC has coughed a bit many times from back in the day when I used to cover USC football in the 70s out there in Los Angeles. And the program could not have been any more freaking elite. John Robinson was a head coach. He followed McKay, who was always a trip to be in a locker room with. And you can imagine. I could never figure this after moving to Florida like 44 years ago. The recruiting base for USC, and they were getting the first player. UCLA was getting all the people that, USC would consider Drek. They were building, I mean, look at the players that came out of there from that era. It's incredible. And they were all South Florida recruits.
Right.
And, you would figure that didn't go away, that they're still growing and sprouting great football players, the Anthony Munozes, the Ronnie Lotts. I mean, all of these guys that came from California and that South, Los Angeles or Los Angeles base on South. How could they go downhill like they did? But they haven't been able to sustain anything like we're cremating people. Yeah. So I'm with you. Michigan State, 18.5. We'll take it. All right, the final play that the professor had was Illinois. He likes Illinois getting 6.5 against the Hoosiers of Indiana. The oddity there being that the higher-ranked team is a 6.5-point dog, obviously going on the road to a team. One's 9 and the other's 19, and yet the favorite is the team that's ranked 19th. What do you think?
That's always dangerous. That's one of the things in college basketball we looked at and weighed a little bit of money on. I think it was a 70% run for years. Is the unranked team that goes in as a home favorite against the ranked team.
Yeah.
Usually they were pretty good, especially if they were 2-3 point favorite, that the odds makers know something. There's a reason why they're making the number 9 team in the country a dog in this spot, meaning they respect Indiana. The coach, the name, eludes me right now, but Indiana was very impressive. Last year had a great year, and they've just not fallen backwards. They recruited the kid, NIL Mendoza. They got him to come over, the quarterback of Cal, who had Miami on the ropes, if you remember, out there last year.
Yeah, it was good.
So they must have been playing well, and I haven't really paid attention to Indiana much, but I've been watching Illinois. Very impressive win against Duke. So to me, 6.5 seems like a really out of whack line. So if you're going to take it, you take Illinois, and then all of a sudden you get beat. So I kind of look at it like the line's telling me to take Indiana.
I mean, are we like the judges in the Canelo fight against Crawford here in agreement that even way off base, but in agreement that it was like 115, 113? All right. So you have made a very solid case for all the professor's games.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Iowa Rutgers tonight under. That's how we're starting off. Utah minus 3.5 over Texas Tech. Auburn getting 7.5 from Oklahoma. Michigan State getting a robust 18.5 over USC. And Illinois getting a 6.5. So some dogs, some favorites in their game against Indiana.
Yeah.
And that's where we stand with the professor on college football. Do you have any big play? I guess your quarterback for South Carolina is going to be here.
This is again where you got to watch something and look at injury reports. Line comes out at 13.5, took a small piece at 13.5, just said, what if Sellers plays?
Yeah.
And I took it again at 10 and 10.5, and then I see the report he was doubtful, and I was up to probable. So you're going to get a really good number. And let's see where that goes come game time, and you have a nice middle. It might come down to 6.5, I think.
Oh, unfortunately,
that's where the line
beat
them last year. Competitive game. You're going out there, the two Columbias, one Missouri, one the Battle of Columbia. And I think, I kind of like the chances if he's right, but you'll get a look at it early. Unfortunately, it goes up against the Miami-Florida game, so you need a double screen to watch both these games as ESPN has this Missouri-South Carolina game. But, yeah, I think it's a live dog, and we'll see if South Carolina
it kind of intermittently freezes
back.
I want to ask you one more thing. We're losing you a little bit here, and maybe because we're sort of in overtime here in the broadcast. But over/under price of a cocktail at Hard Rock Stadium when I attend the Gators game against the University of Miami. Over/under is 16 and a hook.
Over if it's hard liquor. The beer's going to be close to like 13, 14 for the beer. That's my guess. Haven't been there in a while.
Oh, imagine that. I better bring a couple of hundred.
Your free tickets are going to cost you 200.
You have to show them like a quit claim deed on your house to get 2 cocktails, man. I'll let my buddy who I got the tickets for, by the first round, and then that's it. I'll say I'm driving the rest of the
night. Smart move.
You guys have a great weekend, everybody. We gave you whatever we could in terms of insight into what's going to happen. Mike, very, very authoritative today on the pro games. That was amazing with your own tooth theory. I love that. And then look, what don't you know? I literally just fed you those games, and you knew everything about them, which was impressive. That's why we love having you on the show. We'll do it again on Monday. Everybody, good luck with your wagers out there. Prop bets, people. Prop bet parlays. That's what we're recommending. Just go crazy with that, and we'll see you on Monday's edition of Bury Your Bookie.